not to judge yourself. As I was saying, we all innocently get caught up in our thoughts and our thinking and end up afraid. It's only natural to be afraid of pain. We automatically go to think, what's wrong? Is there something really wrong? And it's just to recognize those are thoughts and thinking. And if we stay there, if we choose to stay down that rabbit hole with those thoughts and thinking, then that will create our reality. That our pain will continue in that loop. Just try to come out of your head and into your body and soften.
Today's guest is Jules McCammon, a physiotherapist and expert level practitioner of the John F. Barnes approach of myofascial release, MFR. She has over 35 years of experience working with people in pain. She also is a body-mind coach and author of Finding Myself Within, Rethinking Pain, and soon to be released, Quiet Mind, Quiet Body. She is currently based in North Ireland, where she runs her own private practice and holistic healing space, the Garden Room. Here she helps her clients in their quest to alleviate pain and optimize health. Welcome, Jules.
Thank you. Thanks, Anita, for having me.
Wow, I'm really excited for this conversation because I think there's a lot of things here that we can uncover, especially with pain. A lot of people think, oh yeah, but I can't do that, and it's all right for everybody else. So I'm really excited, and I'm excited to learn as well today. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
So with that said, what is one of the most courageous things that you have done?
I think when I think back, I was in my early 20s and I was a physiotherapy student at university. And between the third and fourth year, we had the opportunity to do like an elective placement in a foreign country. And I had never traveled outside Europe, never mind, I had never traveled on my own. And I decided I wanted to do my placement in India.
Wow.
With the leprosy mission. So yeah, that looking back now, I really don't know how I had the courage or the nerve to do that. It was a huge trip and it wasn't straightforward. I definitely hit quite a few hurdles on my own and was very much out of my comfort zone. But it was probably one of the most amazing experiences I've had in my life. And I fell in love with India after 9 weeks in the country.
Wow. And like you say, what an amazing experience to have. And what a great mission to be a part of as well.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes. I mean, yeah, it's not easy, but yeah, you're traveling the other side of the world.
Yeah. The first hurdle I met was when I arrived at the airport. There was meant to be someone there to pick me up. And I went out through the front door of the airport and there was just a sea of porters wanting to carry my rucksack, but I didn't know where I was going because there was no one there for me. And I had to wait 4 hours before someone came. And it was a long story, but there was a medical emergency. But yeah, I was at the point where I was thinking, okay, I can't stand here all night. I'm going to have to somehow get into the city on my own and find somewhere to stay. But then this man came through the crowd saying, Sister Julie, and I could have hugged him. I think I burst into tears at that stage because I was so relieved that someone was there to pick me up. So yeah, but it was I fell in love with the people. The people were just so beautiful and yeah, so generous.
Well, it came out well, but yeah. I can imagine terrifying situation. Yeah, not speaking the language either.
Yeah.
Wow. Honestly, it really is like an achievement when you look back. And I think when we're younger, we tend to do things, but looking back now, I wouldn't do half the things that in my age now that I've done then.
Yeah, yeah. It was very, and it was such a big thing because I grew up in Northern Ireland, and Northern Ireland tends to be quite sort of insular. And yeah, I really do. And looking back now, I don't know how my mum had the courage to let me go.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it was definitely one of my most amazing journeys in my life.
Wow. So, what took you on your journey of being a physiotherapist?
I I knew that I always wanted to help people in
Mhm.
some way, and I'd sort of thought of nursing. And academically at school, I did struggle. I was quite slow, and it was never diagnosed as anything back then. But I do believe now that it is a form of dyslexia. It's like a processing issue. So I never got an exam finished. I really struggled to read out loud in class, and my English teacher kept picking on me to do that. And my English teacher told me I was dyslexic and illiterate and would amount to nothing. So I didn't really believe in myself. But I have to say that my mum was the big encourager. She said to me, "Look, aim high. If you don't get there, so what?" So I knew that I would have loved to be a physio to really help people in pain and help people rehabilitate after injuries or illness. And again, didn't really believe I would get there, but I worked my butt off and I did
Mhm.
get there. And I've loved it. Like there's no other career I look back now and think, oh, I wish I'd done that. Or yeah, I love it.
Absolutely. Oh, wow. How wonderful is that then? And
Mm,
especially, I can relate, I'm dyslexic as well. And yeah, I left school, no exams, but I resat all mine at the age of 35.
mhm.
Yeah,
Wow.
it is. Thank you. Yeah, it is like difficult.
Mhm.
And I think, if we've got someone in our corner, like you had your mum, just
Mhm.
to like give you that encouragement to believe in you, it just makes all the difference.
Yeah, definitely. Wouldn't be here without her.
Bless. That's really lovely. So, how did you discover myofascial release? And what is that for anybody that's listening that doesn't know what that is?
Yeah. I I'd been working as a physio for many years and I was struggling with my own health. I was running a busy physiotherapy clinic and was really, really struggling. I, again, sort of a long story, I was out in Nepal and I developed viral meningitis
Oh, wow.
and was really quite ill. I eventually made it home, and that's a story in itself, that journey. But yeah, I made it home, and then I definitely struggled with like post-viral fatigue, chronic fatigue, and then 15 years later was sort of being diagnosed with fibromyalgia.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was the sort of person that was quite career driven, and I just kept pushing myself through and ignoring my body for those
Mm-hmm.
15 years. I and ended up quite ill, thought I was going to have to give up work as a physio, and I loved my work. So I started to look for something that would be more gentle on my body to deliver as a physiotherapist.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd heard about myofascial release and knew that it was more gentle than what I was currently doing. So I'm a great believer in finding the source. So I did a bit of research and discovered John F. Barnes, who's like the grandfather of myofascial release. He's been teaching it for over 50 years. And it's only really in the last sort of 5, 10 years that fascia has become a hot topic in the medical world. Like when I was training as a physio, I was told fascia was unimportant packaging.
Oh,
And when we were doing like anatomy dissections, we were just told to push it out of the way. It's unimportant. But it's fascia is actually the life force of your body. It's like a really
mm,
strong connective tissue that goes throughout your entire body, like a spider's web, layer upon layer upon layer. And each little tubule is filled with nutrients and water. So it brings life to every cell in your body. Every cell is surrounded by fascia. But looping back to when I discovered John and I went to America to start training with him. I did 3 courses back to back because I was traveling so far, and I thought I'll do as much as I can when I'm out there. So I did 3 courses, which was probably over about a 10-day period. And
Wow.
we were practicing a lot on each other, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
practicing the techniques. And when I came home, I virtually had no symptoms.
Gosh.
Yeah. So it was a huge shift for me personally. So that's when I've been back to America probably, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 times,
Wow.
doing all of his training and working in his clinic, and getting treatment in his clinic, which has just been a huge, life-changing journey for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, how amazing is that then?
Yeah.
And like they say, you are the example of your product.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, when I came home, I sort of, because the myofascial release addresses not only a structural sort of issue in the body, it also deals sometimes with emotion or trauma that's maybe
Mm.
held in the body. I So when I came home, I sort of thought, oh my goodness, how am I going to start introducing this to my patients? They're going to think I'm like woo woo. So I I decided I did the traditional physiotherapy treatment, and then I maybe did like one release at the end of the treatment and just said, look, I'm just going to try something new here, just working with the fascia in the body. And I would do a couple of structural releases. And then the next time they would come in, they would go, Julie, whatever you did, like do more of that, because they could feel the benefit in their body. So yeah, when I'm treating a patient now, it's all myofascial release really. I use a few traditional physio, maybe mobilizations as well,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really a whole body treatment, working with the fascial system, working out where the fascia has become slightly stickier or solidified in the body.
Mm-hmm.
Because when it's healthy, it's nice and mobile and fluid filled. But through trauma, which can be either emotional or physical, it
Mm-hmm.
starts to solidify in the body and creates a huge compressive force through your organs and your pain sensitive structures, your joints, and it really sort of wreaks havoc in your body.
Mm-hmm.
So the treatment is about very gentle, sustained releases in a 3-dimensional direction. So I do a lot of the treatment with my eyes closed,
Mm-hmm.
because
Wow.
I can feel then underneath my hands what is
Mm-hmm.
happening, through the system, through the body.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite intuitive, treatment wise, because you sometimes are doing a release in one part of the body and you feel just drawn to another part of the body. Or sometimes you can see maybe like a little twitch or movement elsewhere in the body, and that's showing you where the fascia is
Mm-hmm.
stuck elsewhere in the body. So yeah, I love it. Yeah,
I
it's
can
like a really
imagine.
deep listening with your hands,
Mm.
and the patient's not passive either. They don't just like lie there and let you do it all. I really encourage the patient to come out of their head and into their body and really feel deep inside their own body for areas of tension or bracing, because that's what blew me away when I went out to America to do the initial training. I I'd worked with the body for 20 something years up until
Mm.
then, and I had no awareness of how much bracing I was doing in my own body.
Mm.
And John Barnes will say, with awareness comes choice. So
Uh,
once you're aware of where you're bracing or holding tension in your body, you have the choice to soften and let go.
mm.
And that's so crucial.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions that come to mind, but I'm going to ask you this first one. So tell me more about how the body-mind connection can help heal chronic illness.
Well, the book that I've written, that's due out in August, Quiet Mind, Quiet Body, really highlights the latest pain neuroscience,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and an understanding called the Three Principles, which is an understanding of how the mind works.
Yeah.
And it brings those two together because they're both saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's by understanding how our thoughts and our thinking about our pain actually perpetuate our pain, because if we have anxious, it's only natural. I've been there. I've had chronic pain on a number of occasions. And the most recent one was about 4 years ago. I tore a disc in my back and was in excruciating pain for about 18 weeks. And I knew intellectually in my head that the disc would have healed by then, but I was still in agony. And it wasn't until one night I happened to read a poem on Facebook, and I can't even remember what the poem said or what it was about or who wrote it. But it just was enough for me to quiet my mind and let all those anxious thoughts and thinking go. And I woke up the next morning and I was pain free.
Wow.
So I had innocently got caught up in a cycle of fearful thinking about things like, I'm the woman that's meant to fix people's backs. If I can't even fix my own back, how am I going to fix my patients? I was really petrified I was going to need surgery, because I'd told my patients to always avoid surgery like the plague. So I had so much fearful thinking that I was caught up in a fear loop, which really is a chronic pain loop, because your brain is interpreting all those signals as danger, and the brain only knows to produce pain to try and protect you. So that's sort of how the understanding of the mind and the body together really can transform chronic pain.
Wow. How fascinating is that? And it's so true when you understand that. So I am going to ask you more about your new coming book, because I want to know all about that. I mean, it sounds so exciting. What misunderstandings about chronic pain do you want to clear up?
Yeah, there's a huge misunderstanding, and it's the way I was taught initially as a physio, that chronic pain is very much a biomedical model. So it's there's like a structural issue, and that's telling your brain that to produce pain. Okay, so it's very cause and effect. But we are not just our bodies. We are mind, body, and soul or spirit. So my book proposes a psychosocial or spiritual model of pain. So it really brings the mind, body, and soul together to really understand what's happening whenever you are struggling with chronic pain.
That's excellent. Wow. And I think, yeah, it is like, sometimes it's just having the understanding. And out of interest, I'm asking this question, does diet have much effect on it? Can the diet help alleviate any of it?
Well, I'm sure that a lot of chronic pain can be caused by chronic inflammation in the body. And I didn't really go into that aspect. It was more but I know that a lot of chronic pain can be inflammation based, and obviously diet and lifestyle can definitely affect the amount of inflammation in your body. So yes, I'd say that is another whole sort of pillar of health.
Yeah, that's great. So you are the author of Finding Mystery Within and your new book, Quiet Mind, Quiet Body. Tell me about the journey about finding mystery within first.
Yes, the Finding Mystery Within book is really my story about my chronic fatigue, my health struggles, and then discovering myofascial release. And it goes into really my story, my journey of healing through discovering that. I wrote Finding Mystery Within before I'd even heard about the three principles. But it's interesting looking back through it, because you can see elements of the three principles in it. And I suppose that's because they are principles. They always exist whether we're aware of them or not. It's just like gravity always exists whether we're aware of it or not. So yeah, that was my first book. I wrote it during the COVID lockdown. I'd always been like a journaler. I'd always, since about the age of 12, I loved just writing in my journal. It felt like a safe place for me to express myself without being judged or told that that word spelt wrong, or whatever. So yes, I've always loved journaling. And then during COVID lockdown, obviously I couldn't work, I couldn't see my patients. So each morning I love green tea. So I made this big pot of green tea and would take it up to a little garden shed that we had at the back of the garden. And I would sit there in a rocking chair and read and write.
Wow.
And I just started flicking through like old journals, and I thought, there's more in these than just for me. And but I never imagined writing a book, Anita, obviously, because of my struggles. And at the time, I knew a lovely MFR therapist in Sedona, Arizona, where John's clinic is based. And she is an artist as well as an MFR therapist, and she's a shamanic guide as well. Wow. And she was starting a 10-month online program called Conscious Creativity. And I messaged her and said, Deb, is this just for like artists? Or, I have this idea that I'd love to write a book. And she said, no, yes, definitely join us. And it was amazing because it really kept me accountable. There was about 8 of us in the group, and it kept us all accountable. We had goals each month, and then we had to report back to the group, and it was much more than that. But yeah, that was how I actually knuckled down and wrote Finding Mystery Within.
That's absolutely beautiful. I love that. Absolutely love that. So what inspired you to write this book, Quiet Mind, Quiet Body?
I think it was sort of twofold. It's really having spent 35 years working with people in pain, and also my own chronic pain journey. And through discovering the 3 principles, I saw how much freedom that could bring to someone's body if they got an insight around how their mind was working and creating their experience moment to moment. So yeah, that it was, I don't know where it actually, where I actually got that thought, I'm going to write a book about this. But yeah, it just has come. So I've spent the last year and a half probably just researching the latest pain neuroscience, and bringing it together with the 3 principles along with my story. So yeah, it's really written for patient or for people who struggle with chronic pain, for family members who maybe live with someone who struggles with chronic pain, and also hopefully for healthcare professionals. I have shared it with some GPs, and they're very, very interested. I also created a little booklet called Rethinking Pain, which is 1 chapter out of my new book that sort of summarizes it. And I know some GPs who are using that to hand out to people who are struggling with chronic pain, and have found it really useful as well.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic, because let's be honest, how many people are in pain this day and age?
I know.
I mean, huge. And it's not always about, I'm a great believer, so this is my personal opinion, about not taking medication for everything. Try, like you said, get to the root of the cause.
Yeah. So
I'm totally with you on this. Absolutely. And it is a case of sometimes re-educating people as well.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm hoping that the booklet is sort of easy access for therapists and a medical or any healthcare professional to just give to the patient. And I know that Deb, who I mentioned in Sedona, she's an MFR therapist, and she has given it to a couple of her patients, and she has felt then that they are much more able to be present in their body during treatment and get much better results then through just that understanding of how the mind and the body work together.
I think that's absolutely fantastic, because it's a real big breakthrough in a way. I mean, who doesn't want to be free of pain?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's fantastic.
And I think it's the first of its kind in that it brings the spiritual aspect into it, as well as the mind and the body. So yeah, I sort of feel like I'm putting myself out there with that, but I love it.
I think, absolutely. I mean, we all got to start somewhere, but that's the thing. It can be scary when it's something new, but
Mm-hmm.
you know it works. People you've helped, you know it works. I mean, and for doctors to start slowly introducing it, I mean, that's a great achievement.
Mm-hmm.
Well done, Jules. Well done.
Thanks.
So, what can we find in this book that is different from other books about chronic pain?
Well, I think I touched on it there by saying about the spiritual aspect. I and and also there's a lot of research in it, but it's put forward in a very easy to understand way. I didn't want to baffle people with the science, but I still wanted there to be the science base so that it had credibility. I so yes, I've found some really amazing pain neuroscientists from America and Australia that are preaching the same information, and some of their stories are amazing. Some of the research is amazing. I'll just give you one example of there's a chapter in my book about the placebo effect, or about how our words create. Peter O'Sullivan did a study on acute low back pain, and he took a group of people that all presented with acute low back pain. He scanned them all, and then he split them into two groups. So 50% of them were told every little detail of their scan report, like maybe a bulging disc, or a wear and tear, or whatever was found. So yes, half the group were told every minute detail or finding on the scan, and the other 50% of the group were told there was nothing sinister, no cancer, everything was normal for their age. And then they followed them up, I think it was 8 weeks later, and everybody in the group that were told their scan was normal were better.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody in the group that was told every tiny detail were still struggling with pain. So even as a healthcare professional, we need to be so careful what we say to patients, how we deliver information or findings, because I know a lot of my patients come in with their scan report, and because it has their name and date of birth on the top, they're totally fixed to this diagnosis and can't see a way out.
Absolutely. Got to agree with you there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And how fascinating is that to have these studies and to see the proof there as well?
Yeah,
The mind is amazing.
absolutely. Yeah. So there's lots of little nuggets in the book of different research that will blow your mind, as well as my personal story. And just take towards the end of the book, it just takes you a little bit deeper into your soul's journey. So yeah.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. What would you say to someone listening that is thinking, oh, that's all right for you, but I can't do that? They're stuck in their pain, and sometimes they can build on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we all do it innocently. I did it, and I knew how the mind and the body work, but I still got totally caught up. I was catastrophizing. We'll use that term. I just innocently got so wrapped up in my anxious and fearful thinking about my pain. And all pain is real. That's a really important thing to clarify, because some people might think, oh, she's saying that all that pain's in my head. And it's not. All pain is real. And I'll give you an example of that that's in the book. There's a very well-known story about a builder in London who fell off scaffolding and landed on his feet on a 6-inch nail that went right through his boot. And he cried out in pain, and they obviously got an ambulance, took him to A&E, and they x-rayed his foot before they cut the boot off, and they could see that the nail was actually between his toes.
Wow.
So they cut off his boot, and the nail hadn't even pierced his skin. But because of his visual feedback of looking at this nail going right through his boot, he felt pain, and it was real pain, but it was his brain's interpretation of danger. So this work is so powerful because it just takes one insight, one little inkling that really hits you. And it's not about getting it intellectually. It's about really grasping something deep inside your own body. And that can bring so much freedom. So there is hope for everyone. And I know it's hard when you're in the midst of that pain. It's hard to see any way out. But even just by bringing awareness to your body of where you're bracing or holding tension and choosing to let go. Because when we're in pain, it's only natural that our body braces to try and protect us. But then it doesn't know how to switch off. But we can override that with a conscious choice. And it's that softening and melting that will bring ease.
Wow. It's absolutely beautiful, and thank you for sharing that. And it's fascinating, isn't it? Like you said, I mean, the nail hadn't even pierced the man's foot. So, yeah, it's that psychological part of the brain. Wow. So please do tell me, Jules, when is your book out?
It's out in August, probably the middle of August. It'll be available on Amazon and Ingram Spark as well.
Yeah, that's great. So please do go ahead, look at Jules's website, but we will be giving you all the details towards the end. But please do, if this is for you or you know somebody that it can help, please get in touch with Jules, her website, and do go ahead and get the book.
Thank you.
If there was one key takeaway you want every listener to walk away with today, what would that be?
I think it would really be not to judge yourself. You know, as I was saying, we all innocently get caught up in our thoughts and our thinking and end up afraid. You know, it's only natural to be afraid of pain. We automatically go to think, what's wrong? Is there something really wrong? And it's just to recognize those are thoughts and thinking. And if we stay there, if we choose to stay down that rabbit hole with those thoughts and thinking, then that will create our reality. You know, that our pain will continue in that loop. But yeah, just try to come out of your head and into your body and soften.
It's absolutely beautiful. Thank you. So where can those listeners find you online? Your website?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Julie McCammon, or The Garden Room is my work page. And my website is quietmindquietbody.co.uk.
That's brilliant. So thank you for sharing your insightful wisdom and knowledge with us today. And by doing so, I know you have helped so many others and made a difference. I'd really like to acknowledge you for that. Jules McCammon, we are all about Create the Courage to Be Fearless podcast here. What is your definition of courage?
Well, interestingly, I decided to try something a wee bit different for this question, Anita. I put into ChatGPT to create a definition of courage on my writing from my book.
Wow.
And it basically created this poem. So if that's okay, I'll read it.
Absolutely.
Courage is the quiet choice to turn inward, to meet the ache, not with armor, but with awareness, to sit with pain until it softens into presence. Courage is the moment you stop fixing and start listening to your breath, your body, your being. It is the bravery of stillness in a world that runs. Courage is not the absence of fear or pain, but the willingness to see them clearly and no longer mistake them for who you are. Courage is the sacred pause between sensation and story, where the body speaks and the mind begins to remember truth. Courage is unclenching the fist of resistance and letting the heart touch what hurts. not to battle it, but to befriend it. Courage is trust in something deeper than your thoughts, a return to the simple wholeness you never truly lost.
Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely blown away by that.
I was blown away by it too. I think
Wow.
it's beautiful. Yeah.
Doesn't that just incorporate everything you've just
Yeah.
said?
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Anita.
It's my absolute pleasure.